This week on Ask the Tech Guy, why is my mirrorless camera so darn big?
This is Twit.
Ask the Tech Guy is brought to you by LastPass, the #1 most preferred password manager. Just remember your master password and let LastPass remember the rest. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more. Hi, everybody. Leo Laporte here. Welcome to Ask the Tech Guy. Each week I take a question that I think is of broader general interest and answer it best I can. We got a question from, I actually love this question, from John in Dallas. He says, great new show. Here's my question. I just got a Fujifilm X-H1, which has a cropped sensor, smaller than my Sony A7S II, which is full frame, but my X-H1 is considerably larger and heavier. I thought the benefit of a cropped sensor was a smaller camera system. What gives? It's a great question. You got a great camera, and there are some things that the X-H1 is doing that other mirrorless don't. It is true that mirrorless cameras tend to be more compact because they don't have mirrors like DSLRs. You know, many SLRs and DSLRs, all of them, in fact, have a mirror, a prismatic mirror that moves out of position when you take the picture. That's why you can look through the viewfinder. That mirror bends the light and then puts your view through that lens, and that's what that mirror is there for. But of course, it's in the way of the sensor on a DSLR, so when you press the button to take a picture, it pulls that mirror up very quickly. That's that big chunk, that click that DSLRs make, takes the picture directly through the lens, and then puts the prism, the mirror, back in place. That's a big, elaborate mechanism. It adds weight, it adds complexity, and yeah, it adds size. It has one chief advantage, which is you're looking through the lens optically. You're actually seeing what the sensor will see when that mirror is moved out of the way. On mirrorless cameras, we don't have that whole big mechanism. The sensor is right there, very close behind the lens. It's always available to the lens. And what you're looking at in that viewfinder is a video tap. It's actually a little video camera also aimed through the lens right next to the sensor, and that's what you're seeing. The better cameras now have pretty good high-res camera, viewfinder cameras, so you're really seeing a very good replication of what the lens is seeing. There's also additional information that can be added to that stream, so they often have a lot of useful information in the viewfinder. I use mirrorless almost exclusively now. I still have my Canon 5D, but I really like mirrorless cameras. And yes, you're right. The chief advantage is they're smaller. They don't have to have all that room for mirrors. And they're also less complex. There's some other advantages because the sensor is so close to the lens. Usually there's a broader range of lenses you can use on there. There's a lot of good reasons to go mirrorless. And I think, frankly, once these video taps become pretty good, I see no reason to use an optical camera with a mirror in it. That's just really kind of old school. But yours is big for a good reason. This Fujifilm X-H1 has in-body image stabilization, IBIS. That is fantastic. It's got a fairly large image stabilizer in there. It's kind of like a gyroscope. It senses motion of the camera and moves the lens to accommodate it, or moves the sensor, I should say, to accommodate it. It is very good image stabilization, and it really tells you something about what Fujifilm's intent for the camera is. It is a great still camera, 24 megapixel. As you say, it's a smaller sensor, but it's a very good still camera. But it is one of the best video cameras out there. Really superlative. And it's the IBIS that's one of the things that makes it really good. The other thing they do, and I've read, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, I've read reviews that say there's actually a fan in this camera, which of course is going to take up more space, because what does happen with video, when you're shooting video, these sensors start to heat up as the data is coming into them, and often that limits the length of time you can shoot continuously, because the Fujifilm is better at cooling that sensor, maybe even active cooling that sensor with a fan. It can shoot up to 30 minutes of video nonstop, and that's something a lot of other full-frame sensor cameras cannot do. So if you bought the Fujifilm, be happy. It's a great camera. Yes, it's a little bit bigger than some other mirrorless cameras, but that's because it's doing more. It really is the I think you probably bought the Sony A7S because it was also a very good video camera. I think seems like there's a pretty good case to be made that the Fujifilm is even better. Nice camera. That's why it's bigger. It's got a lot of stuff in there. If you've got a question for me, I'd love to hear from you. Email askthetechguy@twit.tv. Maybe we'll read your question next week. The show comes out every Monday. Easy enough to get it. All you have to do is go to the website, twit.tv/ATG. You can download all the previous episodes. But if you want to get on track and stay on track, subscribe. We're on every podcast application, Apple's iTunes, Google's Podcasts, Apple's podcast app on the iPhone and the iPad. We're on Pocket Casts, on and on and on. Just find our show, Ask the Tech Guy, subscribe to it. That way you'll get it automatically each week the minute it's available. And do ask questions, because I want to answer the questions you're most interested in. Ask the Tech Guy at twit.tv. The Ask the Tech Guy show brought to you by our good friends at LastPass, the #1 most preferred password manager. LastPass now offers new features with their business lineup. LastPass Enterprise includes single sign-on technology and 1,200 plus pre-integrated apps. Then there's LastPass Multi-Factor Authentication, MFA, that goes well beyond standard two-factor authentication through the use of biometrics and factors like geolocation. LastPass Identity, it's a combination of the two. Visit LastPass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. That's LastPass.com/twit. Thanks for watching Ask the Tech Guy. I'll see you next week.
Stumped on a nasty tech conundrum? Email askthetechguy@twit.tv.